while eating lunch, I came across this article about this study. And the study's ultimate goal was to determine which type of teachers students favored. However, this led me to ponder, what if I shared a teen's perspective on teaching? I mean, wouldn't teachers want to know what their students think of them? And that is what inspired me to give a talk on this today. So let's start off by touching on the two main stereotypes of teachers, the strict one and the laid back one. And I would call these two stereotypes what construct the norms of being a teacher. So the strict teacher would be more harsh and would put pressure on their students to perform well in their class. On the other hand, the laid-back teacher would be more lenient and wouldn't enforce harsh deadlines or rules for the students to comply with. Although this may seem counterintuitive, the stricter teachers actually foster more rebellious behavior amongst their students, according to a study conducted by Professors Paulman and Weinstein from the University of Essex and the University of Reading, respectively. And this observation is due to the fact that our prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain associated with planning, reasoning, and impulse control, is one of the last parts of our brains to mature. In essence, us teens aren't as capable of regulating our decisions and actions, allowing us to make decisions on a whim, thus leading to rebellious behavior. Now, you may be wondering, so which type of teachers do teens like me actually prefer? Teachers that I like to see aren't strict or laid back, but a combination of both of these stereotypes, taking the pros of both and leaving the cons out. And I like to call these teachers who break the norm understanding teachers. These understanding teachers possess one trait that teens like me value, and that is a growth mindset. In fact, students actually prefer growth-minded teachers over warm and friendly teachers, according to a study conducted by Professor Makita White and her colleagues at Washington State University. For example, rather than saying a certain student may struggle in a calculus class if they're not a math person, or a chemistry class if they're not a science person, understanding teachers acknowledge that all students can be successful in any class, as long as they try their best and work their hardest. Oftentimes, teachers only focus on the mindsets of their students, leading to their students blaming themselves for their own mistakes. But by looking at how a teacher's mindset can affect their students, we can create motivating classroom environments where all students can succeed. Now, before getting into more aspects of understanding teachers, let's discuss how teen emotions take control over ourselves and how teachers can guide us through those emotional periods in life. Everyone experiences emotions, whether it's the happiness from the weather being nice out or the nervousness and anxiousness before performance. However, teen emotions are slightly different from adult emotions. Our teen emotions are different in the sense that we process our information with our amygdala, the emotion controlling center of the brain. On the other hand, adults think with their prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain associated with good judgment and impulse control. And this is because the connections between the emotional part of the brain and the decision-making part are still developing and are not always on the same page for teens. Putting it into simple words, us teens are emotional creatures, and sometimes our emotions may affect our academic performance in the classroom. Something that understanding teachers do is that they frequently check up on their students during class and guide them when they're struggling with their emotions. Rather than asking your students, "Are you okay?" you should instead ask them, "What's wrong?" or "What's on your mind?" The simple "Are you okay?" question elicits a straightforward, "Yeah, I'm fine," or "Yeah, I'm okay, thanks for asking," from the student. But when you ask your student what's wrong, it opens up an opportunity for them to convey their emotions and get them off their chest. I remember the first time that I cried in a classroom setting was when I was in 5th grade. And frankly, it was because I was too afraid to give a presentation in front of my class. Shortly after, my English teacher brought me out into the hallway and asked me what was wrong. I don't know why, but I just started crying even harder. But at the same time, I felt this sense of comfort after she asked me that question, like my feelings were validated. Therefore, what I learned from that first-time experience was that when your student is experiencing a rush of emotions, acknowledge their feelings and simply act like you're their peer who's giving them advice. Additionally, understanding teachers acknowledge the importance of building relationships with their students. By fostering a good relationship with your students, you can create classroom environments that are more responsive and engaged in the learning process, according to the American Psychological Association. Furthermore, your students will trust you and be willing to admit their mistakes and learn from them. It's almost as if you're their peer and you're simply providing them that sense of belonging, that strength in the relationship that us teens value, allowing us to work with you to overcome these obstacles or fears that may come along our way. I've had my ups before, but I've also had my downs. And what's got me through those difficult times in my life were the people that I was surrounded by. And a great portion of that was made up by my school teachers. My purpose in giving this talk isn't to critique a certain teacher's style of teaching, but rather to encourage more and more teachers to adopt this growth mindset of understanding their students and what they're going through, as this is vital in creating a healthy and engaged learning environment. So, let's break the norm and build classrooms not only to educate, but to also support and empower one another. Thank you.